Leafs fans are livid at this, and I'm smiling because you can't make this up. The Leafs come out, they have a dominant 10 minutes, some unlucky, bad puck luck, and then the rest of the game, they get absolutely dominated in what was considered a bit of a must-win, albeit we're still, we're not early, but we're not towards the end of the season yet. The Leafs are still in a fine spot, but man, oh man, what a brutal loss. What's up, Blake? What's up, Shane? What's up, everybody in here? And we have someone queued up, ready to... We want to do something a little different, ready to speak their thoughts. And Jim is already in here. We're going to get him in a second and hear his thoughts. But Darius, before we get Jim ready to go here, a brutal game. I want to get your thoughts, Darius. I see everybody in the chat, pretty similar sentiments. I mean, there's a little bit to go over today. Just a horrible game, quite frankly. There's no doubt about it. We're mad. I still think the team is going to be fine, but I expect some interesting practice updates, interesting updates in general. Darius, any quick thoughts before we let Jim have the floor here?
I'm not even sure what you shake up at this point. Awful effort again for the third time in a row. And the leaders aren't leading. The goaltending looks shaky. And, the things that were working just a couple games ago are not working. We'll dive into it more. But, Jim, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about everything because another poor performance.
Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
Been better.
Well, you know what? I think the Leafs are thinking the same thing. I can't believe what I watched tonight, to be honest. As I mentioned in the last live after Vancouver got spanked, or rather Vancouver spanked Toronto, I thought for sure in that game that they were going to come out and have a response game. So even more so in this one, big opponent, all eyes are watching. And given the performance in the previous two games, I thought for sure, absolutely, guys, they're going to come out and they're going to show us, get back to their regular form. And yet they seem to have actually gotten progressively worse. So here's my take, guys. First 10 minutes, as Nick correctly said, absolutely amazing. They got that, they got that boost from that stupid Lorenz change, putting him on the first line, which, great idea. I mean, Lorenz came from a PTO to the fourth line, to the third line,
Jim.
to the
Got to
first
interrupt you
line.
real quick. We got a donation.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Doing it. It is a small one, but it's from Blake. And the reason I interrupt you here, am I crazy? We'll get back to your point in a second. Robertson switches with Holmberg. So that was just something that he threw out. I'm asking all of us here. You can continue your thought. Blake, thank you again for the donation. Robertson switches with Holmberg. There's some interesting talks surrounding Nick Robertson, and there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding that as the deadline approaches. But Jim, I'm sure you'll get to Nick Robertson a little bit here in your point. We're both advocates for not being fans of Nick Robertson. I steer that train myself. I'm the captain of the non-Nick Robertson train, but I will let you continue.
Yeah, so I'll just finish up my Lorenz rant before I get on to Robertson because there's lots to say on both. But with Lorenz, look, I love his game, but he's a fourth line guy. He was brought in on our PTO, then went to and then played the majority of the season on the fourth line, was promoted to the third, and somehow that means he's going to be down to the first. He literally went from the outhouse to the penthouse, and obviously tonight was the greatest example of how that does not work. So first time I've questioned a Berube decision all year, outside of the first 10 minutes where they got that, we've mixed it up, everyone's kind of nervous bump. That's it. I mean, he looked out of place. And this is a knock on Lorenz because I'm a big fan of his game, but he cannot do what is required to be on a first line with those two players, and it showed tonight. So as for Robertson, oh my God. So this guy... I'm sorry, Darius. I know I'm sure you have your Robertson pom poms hidden under the camera there somewhere. But I'm telling you, this kid, I still held out some hope. I did. Like I really did that this kid was going to show something. All I see from him is him skating 100 miles an hour in every direction with absolutely no compass. He's a lot of effort, but effort without actually like thinking about what you're doing. He's trying to play a physical game. He's not built for that. He's put in a position on this team where that's necessary because he's going to play a third line role, and it's not happening. I've had enough of the Nick Robertson time. If he wants to sulk, I'd rather see him sulk up in the press box eating popcorn than have him on the ice causing chaos and absolutely destroying what this team is supposed to be. I've had enough. Ship him out. Lots more, guys. But what are your thoughts on that? I imagine you both have some views on the Robertson thing.
Yeah, I'll start, Darius. I know you probably have some things, and hopefully the score impact card comes out and we can see how everybody played. And I'm seeing some things in the chat. I'm sure Marner thought they played great. Robertson literally just looks like he's out there for a skate line. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Robertson's a cardio merchant. Ultimately, it was a bad game for a lot of players. It wasn't just Nick Robertson. Joseph Woll has been bad. He had one decent game in the middle of the stretch there. We obviously, the Stephen Lorenz situation he looked exactly as I expected. I mean, I don't hate the change up of someone up there, but obviously, you put Matthew Nyes to the second line. At least Austin Matthews had a goal. That was nice for a bit there. But Darius, I'll let you take the floor a little bit. Also, if you're in the chat right now, type yes or no. Do you want Nick Robertson on the team past the trade deadline? A yes or a no?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, that's an easy one. That's a gimme. Come on.
I want to see it. I want to see it.
I wonder what's going to happen there. But no, in terms of where do we want to start? I mean, the first line, Lorentz, putting him there, I don't know how to word this. I don't mind it. And we talked about it in a video this morning that I don't mind it in way of that. I know what Berube's trying to do, the psych behind it, right? Like things, you got to get uncomfortable. The team's got to get uncomfortable. The lines are going to be different tonight. Will they go back to the way they were? I was expecting it to happen. It ended up happening. I don't think it should have happened. But I understand the psych behind it. But it's like, do you really think that's going to work? Lorentz does not have the tools to play with those two guys, right? He just doesn't. He's a third or fourth line guy. I think he can be actually a pretty decent third line guy, but he's a fourth line guy. This is the same thing we went through after the first game of the season when everyone was like, wow, we had a great game. Put him on the first line. It doesn't work like that. He's great in his role. Keep him there, right? The one thing that I think, and everything is perspective, right? The one thing that nobody's really talking about that I don't see much of right now on Twitter, the media, YouTube, anything, right? Okay, we're putting Lorentz on the first line tonight, right? We're changing it up. So Lorentz is there. It clearly didn't work because they ended up getting moved. Nyes hasn't worked there, right? Yeah, it's not working. Let's try somebody else. I think McMahon was there a couple of games ago.
Right.
What about that line isn't working at this point? You're trying all the different options.
Thank you, Darius.
I think it's the other two guys. I think it's the other two guys that aren't working. Can we split them up, please? We know that it works. Why are we continuing to do this? It blows my mind. Put Austin Matthews with Bobby McMahon and Max Domi. That's what I think.
Yes.
And try it.
Yeah.
And try it.
Well, if I can just jump in here, Darius.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. I think if you're going to have, and William Nylander has typically on this team been the whipping boy. If there's a problem, if he's not doing something right defensively, they've got no problem shuttering him down to a different line. Well, you know what? I think after these 3 losses, I would love to see, you know what? Matt, I almost said a bad word there. Matthews and Marner, not only split them up, but put them in a different lines, in a lesser role. Let's change, and while we're at it, let's change up the power play as well. Yeah. Because honestly, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm really hoping, and I love that you brought that up, Darius, is the fact that Berube, if he's the coach, I believe he is, which I obviously believe he is. He will see that, and maybe not quite that drastic, but there will be repercussions from this, and I look forward to the next game to see exactly what that is. Guys, I've also got, I'm not sure how much time I've got here, guys. If you want to cut me off, just feel free anytime. Otherwise, I'm never going to shut up. So, on Woll. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yep. Before you get into it, I want to ask the chat something about that because it's going to bounce back off of Joseph Woll. On a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat, tell me your confidence level regarding Joseph Woll heading into the next handful of games. While they do that, Jim, go ahead.
Perfect. I used to put my number in there. It's a 3, by the way, out of 10. So here's the thing: is that Woll's game is so up and down and unpredictable. Even when he's at his best, his rebound control. And Nick, I've talked about this all season. His rebound control is very unpredictable, and I think tonight really showed a lot on the first, I believe, 2 Dallas goals. Knowing that Woll gives out big rebounds, and he has a real issue with pucks that are sitting in the blue paint, right? I mean, that he's a goalie, so obviously that's going to be an issue. But that is the kind of stuff where the D have to step in and they have to clear out in front of the net and take a man. On the power play goal that Dallas scored, I can't remember. They scored so many tonight; it's hard to keep up. But on one of them, goal, like those 2 men, the 2 guys that were sitting in front of our net were their bodies not being connected with any sort of Leaf defenseman. Their sticks were completely free, and that's why they were able to tip it in with such ease. So, I mean, as much as I really want to crap on Woll and his play, I believe that our D, especially on our penalty kill, has to do a better job than what they did tonight.
I agree.
Guys, I got some. Oh, sorry. Do you want to comment on that? Go ahead, and I'll go on to my positive.
I think that's a great point. Just to chime in quick. I mean, the first goal, I was saying to myself watching it on TV, I was like, I forget who scored the first goal, but I was like, why is that guy not on his, like, why is he not on the floor? Right? Like, why is he not taken completely out? And one thing that I was thinking as you were saying that is one thing I've noticed this season specifically because Stolarz has come in. Yeah.
I'm going to quickly, because the chat is spamming. Blake with the 279. The team is missing McCabe.
Thank you, Blake.
Blake, thank you so much again, and I tend to agree.
They are.
And regarding numbers, 3, 6, 8, 10, 6, 2, 8, 5, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. So a lot of in the middle there. Yeah, interesting. Continue your thought.
Very. I was going to say one thing that I was thinking of as you were saying that, and you were talking about Woll, is something I noticed is I think Stolarz is more of a free-flowing goaltender, and he makes these big saves because he's going off field sometimes. When I watch Woll, he's like so technical, especially the couple of goals he let in tonight. I just feel like he doesn't. It's almost like he can't make certain saves because it goes against kind of the technicality of his game. I don't know how to describe it better than that. He feels kind of like robotic at times. Like the puck will bounce behind him and he's like, well, I can't turn around because then I'm going to be out of position and what the coach has told me to do, right? That's just kind of how I feel about him as a goaltender. But you were going to bring up one other thing, Jim.
I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to go in here because I'm just for a quick second here. You know, we're not used to these three people things. Man. There's just a lot of talking there. He is the polar opposite when it comes that way of Anthony Stolarz in the sense of I think Anthony Stolarz, like, he is ready at all times. Tonight, drives me crazy. But that being said, we are missing Stolarz. We are missing McCabe. I agree with you. It's an interesting point, and I'm curious to see if people in the chat agree with that. Like, he makes the saves that are traditionally should be made, and then the ones that sometimes require some, I will call it, different judgment, I guess. And again, I'm not an NHL goalie. He's way better than I'll ever be at NHL goaltending in general. But it's interesting to see the ones that he lets through sometimes. They're a little bit confusing. Not quite as confusing as Ilya Samsonov, but it's interesting. And I had an analogy, but I'm going to save that analogy for another day. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so Woll definitely is like a technically like positional goaltender, which is kind of feeding off of what Darius was saying, where you look at Stolarz and he actually just he's able to make saves based on how the play develops. Where I think Woll is definitely a goaltender where his technical ability is very, very sound. But in that, when things go haywire, he's not going to pull off a Dominic Hasek, to use an old school reference, but where you can see the glaring issues with that. Because I mean, you're not going to get a good look at every goal, at every shot rather. And when his rebound control is in question, and when there's anything in the blue paint or just outside of it, I just cringe. It brings me back to we can go over them forever, but former Leaf goaltenders used to have the same issue. If it's sitting there for any period of time, it's going to end up in the back of the net. Yeah. Guys, I got two positives here. And these two, I think, are need to be highlighted, especially in a game like tonight where, there's a lot to crap on in this game, to be honest. But Philippe Myers, can we talk about Philippe Myers and his play? Mm-hmm. I really like his play, and tonight I think was arguably one of his best noticeable games this year. He looks more confident. Hit that booming point shot that everyone says is missing on the power play. Well, guess what? I think we've got it right there if the kid gets a chance. His fifth play, I don't know who, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, gentlemen, but it was, he laid a huge hit in the first. And that's the kind of stuff where I really like his play. And I think he's only growing with confidence and growing in confidence, frankly, in 3 games where everyone else seems to be deteriorating. So, I mean, kudos to him. What do you guys thoughts on that?
I agree.
No,
I mean,
he's,
we gotta get an
yeah.
animation for him. I think he's been crushing. I think we have Shane as well waiting to call in. So hit your which is I think I don't know. No, finish your thought. I don't know that it's Shane. I get very hesitant with numbers, so I'm gonna have to double check.
Again,
Hit your other
Nick,
thought though. Hit your other thought quickly,
Darius,
and then we'll get them in.
Yeah, cut me off anytime you want. My last point here is, and I've been beating this drum all year, so I may be the only one in this camp, but Camp, I think he was noticeable. His play was impactful tonight. Honestly, he's become one of the best penalty killers on our team, and this was a fantastic game for him. Face-offs, strong, and he just plays really well with his role. And I understand the contract is a bit of a problem for most people, but given his elevated play and the significance of his role, I'm beginning to believe that contract might even be warranted, if I can say that without everyone roasting me. But I think he brings a lot of value, and in a night especially like tonight where the team has played really poorly, anybody that stands out positively on the defensive side gets a big plus from me.
Agreed. Yeah. I love David Kemp. He had a very good game. Him and Connor Dewar, that fourth line, and it's going to be very interesting to see here. And it's not Shane, so I'm going to have to be on high alert for this next caller. But Jim, as always, thank you for the special. We had a special little. You called in so fast that we had to get you in right away. We'll be back. Hopefully, I'll be in Toronto soon as well. So and we have a stream in a couple days as well. So we'll be in touch and have a great night. Hopefully, the Leafs can continue to roll the other way instead of this way.
And if I can just say before I go, guys, gentlemen, if all the people that are in the chat, this is an amazing channel. If the channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you come back and consider becoming a member, because this isn't just about the Leafs. This is about a community, and these guys are the best. Gentlemen, have a great night.
We did not tell him to say that. That was all him. That was all him.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, there's no paid endorsements on my. All right, guys. Have a good night. Bye bye.
Thanks so much. Jim is the best supporter. That is true. We'll get the other call in here in a minute.
Just to piggyback what he said there too, I wanted to bring this up on stream. We want to do something for our members as well. So thinking about maybe making like a Facebook group. I just want to see the temperature and test things out here in the chat. If you guys want like a Facebook group put together for members that everyone can kind of chat with each other, talk about the Leafs, stuff like that.
Doesn't have to be
Leafs Digest, like members chat, something like that. It doesn't have to be Facebook.
Maybe Discord or something. Whatever's up to you guys. Obviously, it depends.
Discord, whatever people would prefer. Just throw it in there.
In the mail. No, not paid endorsement. Also, if you're in here, hit the like button. It's a great turnout tonight. Over 125 of you in here. What's up, Rick? Hit and again, the group chat would be. It doesn't have to be on Facebook. We'll come up with the best idea, but it would be a more personable way and give you some sneak peeks on some stuff as well.
Shout out Hattrick HQ in the chat right now. Everything you need to know about the NHL on YouTube if you want to go check them out as well. Hattrick HQ.
Emoji. All right, let's get the call in. Oh, yeah, let's get the other call in here, and then we'll get our own thoughts and we'll engage with chat a little bit as well. I'm going to veto who this is first. So we're going to mute up the Darius. We're going to mute up you. What's up, Toronto? Hope you're doing well. All right, who is this calling in? Okay, Eric, I thought I had your number locked in. I'm taking a picture of it. Because for the regular call-ins, I don't have to go through the process. I'm still scared. But I get very hesitant of all the numbers. Everybody, it's Eric. Eric is in here, longtime supporter as well. Eric, how are you feeling about that one?
Oh, I can just imagine how everyone's feeling about this right now. And kudos on Jim. I was about to hang up the phone here. You just took the words right out of my mouth there.
Want to hear from you too.
Totally agree with everything he said. First of all, Lawrence on the first line. I wasn't too I wasn't.
I'll say it. It was tonight. Awful, terrible idea, terrible execution.
So as we said, all year, the Leafs need to get a center, whether that's a second line center or third line center, and push Domi to the wing. I think that's what would be best. Fourth line, I find they're best when Camp is centered with Dewar and Holmberg, but. Why is Revo on the team right now? I have no idea. Maybe next game, put him on the first line. Not sure.
That's an idea. That's
5 minutes. Yeah. 5 minutes on the ice, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
so
was
why-
on the ice
what's
as long
his
as you were
cap hit?
waiting for the call in.
1.7? Yes, exactly. And I hung up and called again. So after hearing Jim, I thought, oh, why bother? You did awesome.
I'm happy
But
you called back in.
what are we paying Revo? 1.5, 1.7?
I think it's 1.7. I'll search it up right here right now.
Yeah, so for a
1.35.
fourth liner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for a fourth liner playing 5 minutes, not putting an impact on a game, not sure if it's age or he has a hidden injury, but he's supposed to be in the lineup when the Leafs are down. They threw a big hit on Domi. You'd think he'd go out there and tell them, hey, don't touch my guys, but nothing out of him. And the Leafs have been kind of lacking of that. It was on the news the other day, like the Leafs need like a Kachuk, someone to stir the pot, like Bertuzzi or Button. The Leafs don't have that right now.
They don't have it right now, and they don't have it in the top guys either. Like, this is the thing I've been talking about for so long, where I'm like, to find success in the playoffs, you need to initiate. The Leafs are always on the other side of things. Other teams initiate with them, and they end up taking retaliatory penalties, or they're just having to fight back all the time. You have to initiate. Brad Marchand does it. Matthew Tkachuk does it. And ironically, those two are, some of their best players on those teams. And the Leafs' best players, Matthews, Marner, Nylander to a degree, like, they don't initiate in the same way. They don't have a guy like that. And if they do have a guy like that, he plays third or fourth line minutes, and he's not on the ice enough to make it matter.
And no one in the Leafs steps up for their big stars. So last game, or a couple of games ago, Matthew against Buffalo, he gets cross-checked, and he's injured, and he's out for a couple of games. Tonight, kind of a little shot from Jamie Benn. None of the stars no one went up to Jamie Benn and told him, hey, don't touch our captain. Just no initiation, nothing.
Yeah. Eric with the 6.99, or sorry, Blake with the 6.99. Talking about Eric. Well, he didn't. He said, sorry, Eric, won't be here for Thursday's stream. Going to his Fires game. Thank you, Eric, or Blake. I'm mixing up the names. Blake, thank you for the 6.99. Hopefully you enjoy that game. Good. I can't speak. Yeah, I mean, it's polar opposite of the team we saw prior to 3 games ago. If you think, it seems like so long ago now, prior to those 3 losses in a row here, Leafs we had a stream where everybody was on cloud 9. The team was rolling first in the Atlantic. They're still first in the Atlantic, but things are getting interesting now, and they need to make some additions. Steven Lorentz in the top line played less than 10 minutes. Obviously, Rube put it in the blender afterwards. Ryan Reeves, 5 minutes on the ice tonight. Nick Robertson got a decent bit, but the defenses look bad too. Like, I don't know. It's the goaltending shaky. They desperately need Jake McCabe back, and they desperately need Anthony Stolarz back as well. And I think Stolarz will help a lot towards this team because he is. If there's any question about who's the 1A goalie, I think it's answered. Not to hate on Joseph Woll necessarily. I think the defense is letting him down a bit as well.
Yeah, just with Joseph, I don't think he has that much confidence in himself right now. You see after letting a couple of goals, he lets himself down. With Stolarz, when he lets a bad goal in, it brushes it off and just gets back to his job. And I agree with Darius a while ago when he was on the phone with Jim. Like, maybe that's why they need a third line center so they can move Domi out of there. Domi's that guy. If someone's sick, Matthews or Tavares is sick, he can step in and be that center for a couple of games. But try him on the wing with Matthews. Move those guys around. Just like the playoffs when they had O'Reilly as a third line center. Like that's what they need right now from the guys.
Yeah.
And on the back end, yeah, for sure. They need Jim with the gift membership.
We have a couple things here. Thank you, Eric, you called it out yourself. Okay.
TSN turning point. This just in.
All right, we'll start with Paul Taylor. $10 from Paul. Hope they turn it around soon. We need a scoring D-man, which OEL doesn't seem to be, and a second or third line center. I wouldn't mind getting someone like Kadri to stir the pot. Kadri's a bit old now. Paul, as always, thank you for tuning in, and I agree. They need to do something, and, the D-man conversation might be elevated now with how bad they've been playing as of late. Thank you for the 10, and Jim, as always, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Alistair, Anthony, Lori, Lubrick, and Brad Summers. Thank Jim in the chat. You now have access to emotes, and again, we're going to do more stuff for the members as the season goes on and as the playoffs approach. There's going to be a lot more stuff for that. We're working on that behind the scenes for making the membership more worth it, but even more worth it than it already is. But again, thank you, Jim and Paul, as well, for the donation, and Eric. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just sad about how the team has been, the effort level over the past couple games. I'm curious to see what kind of quotes we hear tonight, what kind of stuff we hear from Mitch Marner, what happens tomorrow regarding, just during optional. I don't know when they play again. I'm assuming it's December.
Thursday.
Thursday. So
against New
tomorrow's
Jersey.
going to be the day. Tomorrow's going to be a day to see at practice what happens. I'm sure trade rumors are going to start to pick up, but a very disastrous game, I would say, from 50 minutes or 10 minutes in. So I guess for 50 minutes of bad hockey, 10 minutes of really, really good hockey, which is a little bit confusing.
Yeah, I agree. And hopefully Stolarz, he's supposed to start skating next week. So hopefully after the Four Nations, he can get back on the ice. And and one thing, boys, if it would be a very Leafy thing if they would sign back John Klingberg. I think I wouldn't be a Leafs fan anymore.
Oh,
Thank
Eric.
you for bringing that up.
Well, if you're not, you might not be a Leafs fan by the end of like next week with the way that these reports are coming out. So
that would be such a Leafy thing to do.
Yeah,
Comes
you're right.
back from over the island, might as well send him back.
Just before the game, we heard that the Leafs are the front runner right now. There was a couple teams named today, and the Leafs are apparently the front runner to sign him.
Oh, yeah, they're the front runner because Klingberg spent all his time, his rehab in Toronto.
Sense, yeah.
Toronto does have good doctors.
Yep.
And it wouldn't be a bad thing if they can get him, a cheap price,
minimum.
He's been out for a year. So minimum, absolutely. He can be your seventh defenseman. Him and Hawk and Paw can go on Robert Island, have a couple of cocktails, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about we need some. I know, Paul, you mentioned it. I know, I assume Paul's not talking about John Klingberg when he said it, but an offensive defenseman. I mean, John Klingberg is that, but he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been playing good. I mean, maybe there's a world where they bring him in and he has a really good. I mean, I don't even want to put that into the world because I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, again, they're front runners right now. We'll obviously have vids on it and things like that, but I think tomorrow is going to be a big tell. I want to see what kind of changes he does. Craig Berube, that is with. I mean, are we going to go back to the Knies in the first line? It looked kind of dumb now if after a 4-1 loss, you just revert back to what didn't work before anyways. I would like to see them split up Matthews and Marner. Just split it up. What do you have to lose at this point? The answer is more games, I guess. But, I don't think you're going to lose more by having Marner and Matthews split up. Let's change something because clearly, and let's not forget the 5-game win streak they had, albeit it was impressive. Yeah, I know, Paul. It was against some mid teams. None of them were really great teams, and that's not to take away from the wins. And again, they've been brutally, dealt a horrible hand with injuries. Specifically, I mean, not many teams have to lose their 1A goalie for a while. And again, they're prepared to do it, but change something up.
Yeah, so for next game, I'd set out, Revo, probably bring in Holmberg on the fourth line, bring back Patches, probably sit Robertson. But I don't know, send a message out, sit third guy, call someone up from the Marlies, get Nylander or Steves, someone up. We need a change of voice here, change up in the lineup, and we need it now. Because if we lose Thursday and Saturday, well, now, Boston's winning a couple of games. People are going to be catching up.
Yeah, and catching up quick. I mean, Florida's right behind the Leafs. The fact that the Leafs are still first in the Atlantic is pretty crazy considering they just lost 3 in a row and the race is tight. And I mean, there's other teams coming right now. Montreal's coming, which sounds insane to say. Ottawa's coming. They're doing really well as of late. They're really starting to put it together. I mean, on paper, they should have already, but these other teams are coming. So they have to continue to stay on track here. You can't afford to kind of falter here. You have to get that first spot in the Atlantic, because if you fall to second, you could be playing Boston, you could be playing Tampa, you could be playing, maybe even Montreal at this point. You want to avoid those teams. You want to play a team that's in the first or second wild card spot. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they adjust here going into Thursday, because they're playing a pretty good team again. The schedule does not get easier for them here.
Yeah, maybe they set out Timmins. I know the players set out to me the most tonight was Myers, but set out Timmins. Hawk and Pod's been practicing in the contact jersey, so I think it was a black jersey or McCabe. Maybe sit out Morgan Riley. Send a message.
I agree. I think they got to do something pretty drastic here to send the message, because it's just been status quo for the last couple of years, and when things like this happen, I feel like you cannot allow what's happened the last 3 games to snowball here, because it has in years past. So they got to do something, I think, pretty drastic in the next couple of games.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the team is going to be fine. I think they're going to be good in the playoffs, hopefully. But this is a major bump against good teams, and if anything, maybe it'll prompt Brad Living to to go ahead and do some more moves. But Eric, I appreciate the call in. As always, some great takes. Great, great to have you calling in. And hopefully when we talk again, it'll be after a big Leafs win.
Oh, I hope so. Thanks, boys. Take care.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Shout out to Eric. Great calling. Great points. I mean,
Support. Yeah.
yeah.
Can I go off for a little bit, Nick?
Sure.
I mean, we got the floor now. We can talk a little bit about the game, what's going on the last little while. But something that's really stood out to me, this is our first stream, and obviously we've had some call-ins, and I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it now. But this is our first stream since the Mitch Marner comments against the Vancouver Canucks. So Nick, this is the thing to me, and this is what's I think is about to snowball here this season, and they really have to nip this in the bud here. When you wear a letter on your jersey, right? That to me tells me that you're the leadership group. You run the room. Everything goes through you. If you're wearing the C, if you're wearing an A, everything goes through you. So you come to a situation where you acquire guys at the deadline every year, whether it's Edmondson last year, Nick Foligno, Wayne Simmons joins the team, and they have comments after games where you lose and you look terrible, and they're always saying, we weren't good enough. We were terrible. We got outworked, right? And then Chris Tanev, you add this year, who's been, a guy in the league for a long time, plays the game the right way. I love Chris Tanev. I think he's a huge difference maker. He's actually their best defenseman on this team. He comes in, he says the same thing after last game. Then you have a guy who's wearing a letter who comes in front of the media and says, I thought we played great. We got shut out 3-0. We had nothing going for us tonight. We played great, right? I don't know what type of message that sends, and I don't understand why everyone has to tiptoe around Mitch Marner. Because Craig Berube came out and said today, I can't remember the exact quote, but he was like, a guy like Joseph Woll coming out and saying that he wasn't good last game is good. I like the fact that he's taking accountability, but I don't understand why he's not naming names. So this has happened for years. It's continuing to happen. The guy who's wearing a letter is saying we played great when they didn't. I don't understand this mindset. Continues to happen. So I don't know what that is. And I feel like it could snowball here because you lost to the Canucks. Yeah, we had a great game. I thought we played our system. And I'm curious to see what they have to say about this game tonight, the players specifically, because Berube had a pretty, a quote I just saw about the fans booing, and he said it happens in every building. So, I mean, he's not wrong, right? If you lose the game, right? People spend their hard-earned money to watch these games, but it's something drastic has to happen here. Scratch Mitch Marner, scratch Morgan Riley, do something in the next game that's pretty off the wall. I think to really send a message here that things are different. I thought things were going to be different with Berube. I thought when you weren't going to play. That clearly is not the case with this team. So I don't understand what that is. I don't know why they are afraid to scratch guys, to bench guys. Lorentz plays on the first line. Nyes is playing on the first line. McMahon plays on the first line. Oh, these guys are not working with these two superstars. The guy that we're putting on the left wing is the problem, is the reason why that line is not working. It's the other two guys that's not working, right? Split them up. We know that it works when they're split up. I don't understand it. Split them up. Try something else with Matthews there. Put Mitch Marner somewhere else. Figure it out. He's not playing well right now. So until he figures it out, put him somewhere else.
He is 4th overall in scoring. It's true. With Marner voicing his true thoughts about how detached he is from actual play, why is Ryan, or is that why Ryan O'Reilly? Good God, is that why Ryan O'Reilly said what he did about the team's compete level? It's part of it. I feel like we've kind of. I don't think Ryan O'Reilly was necessarily wrong when he said that, and clearly he hasn't. It hasn't translated to wins at all for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. So it's I don't think he was wrong. It's just a lot of players don't say that or are too afraid to say that. Don't say it. It is what it is. And I don't know. Riley looks chunky. Marner is still good, at scoring. He had an assist tonight, even in a pretty rough game. O'Reilly was likely talking about Marner specifically. I mean, you think?
I don't know if it's about him specifically. I think it was about the core. There was too much emphasis on making sure the core is happy and that the only way you're going to win is by playing them. And I don't think that's true in any sport, especially hockey. It just doesn't work that way. So I think that's what he meant by that. The other thing, Nick, you brought this up on a stream recently. OEL has his lowest point total since I think his rookie year this year. Play him on the power play. Do something different. They keep alternating between 5 forwards, which doesn't work, and then 4 forwards, which are the same forwards with Morgan Riley, which also doesn't work. Why don't you try something else? Put OEL there. Try anything else. Try something new. You cannot say we're trying something new and it's like, Thursday, let's say morning skate, we're trying something new and it's just the other unit that you've been using, the other power play one unit that you've been using, right? Like how many times this season have we made a video in the morning where, well, the Leafs, put Morgan Riley back on the power play. It's the same thing over and over again. You have to try something significantly different.
And there you haven't. And that's why I'm very intrigued for tomorrow's game specifically. Hit the skate specifically at practice, because I think there's a world where hopefully they make some big changes. Yes, when Marner makes those kind of comments, it's easy to make the connection. I agree with you, Nick. I mean, I think he probably was talking about Mitch Marner primarily. Maybe not only Mitch Marner, but Mitch Marner primarily. And he's kind of, you think back to the offseason with all these things, and that's something we continue to obviously discuss. It's rough. When does Berube start kicking butt? Probably soon. I can't imagine he's happy with the level of compete, and it's interesting. Also, we're 16 likes away from 50. If you can, if you guys want to help us support or help towards that and support us, but I mean,
Berube had an interesting quote tonight where he said, "I thought things were good in this game specifically tonight," and he said, "I thought we defended well against a really good team. Dallas is a good team, right? Let's not let that get lost in this either. But I think you should want to compete with these teams and try and beat them, obviously." So he said it was going to be very low event at 5-on-5, and special teams was the difference. I don't think he's necessarily wrong there, right? Like Dallas converted a couple times on some bad power plays. You got to stop taking penalties, and the one on Tavares was crazy. That was not a penalty, but the difference is I think the Leafs win a lot more games this season if the power play's clicking at like 28% or something. Like you're looking at the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know what it is right now.
6-0.
It's over, not the game. I mean,
I know, but I'm saying today they're like
they go off offensively. Yeah. Like if they get the chance on the power play, they go off. Like they're clicking at a high percentage on their power play. If you can get the power play there, which it should be with the personnel you have, you probably win more games than they have this season, right? Like you probably win a lot more of those games. Like you'd score out way more goals if you were scoring on more of those power plays.
Yeah, I mean you need to. Their power play is terrible. Their PK is okay. Their goaltending has been bad. Their defense has been bad, which ultimately leads to guess what? The team being rough right now. That being said, I think the team is going to be golden. I think they're going to be fine. I mean
they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier though because they have another game against the Devils and Sheldon Keefe on Thursday. So if you don't play good then, question marks. They need to shut it down now. We've been talking all year, but every time they lose 2 or 3 in a row, really 2 in a row, they bounce back and they play well. If they lose tomorrow, it's a 4-game losing streak, and that is going to be very, very interesting. But Darius, do you want to go ahead and do our 3 stars?
Sure. Yes. And Paul, you are correct. It was Domi. I believe he won 12 face-offs in one game. I think it was game 2. It was either game 2 or 5 last year.
I think it was 5, actually.
I think it was 5. And yes, it was Domi.
They were down 3-1. I remember that pretty clear. All right. We'll start with you.
This is a tough one. I'm going to go 3rd star, Chris Tanev tonight. Just because he, I don't know, was a 0, not a minus tonight. So,
take it easy, Jim. Have a great night.
Thank you for tuning in, Jim. I think that he wasn't a minus tonight, and I like the way that he transports the puck out of the zone, and he's been a bright spot for the Leafs this year. So, it's the 3rd star, Chris Tanev.
Yeah, I think Chris Tanev was solid. I'm gonna go ahead and give the 3rd star. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Austin Matthews. I don't think he played a really great game. He had a goal. I think he's had 4 goals in the last 6 games. I don't think he needs to be better for sure. But I think in a game where no one really played well, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Austin Matthews. And if people hate on that, then I understand.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And 2nd star, I'm going to give it to Matthew Nyes tonight. I thought that he was actually a couple posts. He was skating well, creating a couple chances. And even late in the 3rd, I thought he kept playing. And I think that's good. In games like this, you can take a hold of that opportunity playing well in the final minutes. So I thought he did that. So
I'm going to go with David Kampf. For all the points Jim said earlier. Really good game. Like, he's been quietly solid the whole year. No one played good tonight. 1st star for me is going to be Philip Myers, and that's because he's been an elite given his role for a while. He's been a nice surprise. I think he's played well the last little while. And he's coming into, he hasn't played in the NHL a lot since COVID, right? Like, he's kind of bounced around a lot of teams too. So for him to come in and do what he's done the last little while. Given his role. So when I say that, I mean, given the expectations, I think in my head, he's exceeded them brilliantly, and it's part of the reason Marshall Rafai hasn't gotten in a game.
Yeah. Well, Blake, I don't know if I don't know if I said Holmberg won't play ever again.
I said I
if
didn't
he's
know if
a
they're going to
regular.
keep him. Darius was on record saying they'll probably keep him around.
I think they're going to keep him around. I just don't know how much of a regular he'll be. Like, I think he's going to be out of the lineup probably more so than in the lineup. But they're going to switch things up the rest of the way. They got the bodies to do it. So that'll be that. But Philippe Meyer, he's been a bright spot.
Is it Meyer or Myers?
I say Philippe Meyer. I don't know.
Even though there's an S there?
Yeah, because people keep flopping the
Fair
pronunciation around. So I thought it was Philip. It's actually Philippe, and then I say Meyer. I don't know, but I've heard different things. It's like Lawrence and Lawrence.
It's definitely Lawrence, though. I think we got clarified.
It is Lawrence. It is Lawrence. Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're 8 likes away from 50. That'd be nice. I mean, a great turnout for this one. I know fans are fired up. We'll have videos tomorrow. Things are going to be changing. There's a lot of news to cover. We're going to keep you up to date with all of it. I mean, we're still first in the Atlantic. There are things to be fixed. Every single team at some point goes through stretches like this. And it's unfortunate that it's happening now. But ultimately, I do think things are going to get better. And everyone who, Jim, obviously Shane, everybody tuned in. Paul, Blake, thank you guys for your donations. And Jim, of course, the gifted members. It's, you guys' support is unbelievable. Darius and chat, any final thoughts before we wrap up? We'll be back for a live stream on Thursday following Thursday's game. Huge game. And then they have the Habs on Saturday. So they need, if they lose this game, then you lose the Habs Saturday. I'm not trying to put any bad things in there, but get the win on Thursday. Go into, amped up a little bit for the Habs games. That game's going to be electric. Habs stuff. Thank you very much, Sam. Appreciate it. But
thank you, Sam.
Ham stuff is, Habs are going crazy right now. So it's going to be a wild next couple of games.
Habs are on fire right now. They're smelling blood. So you got to get this win against the Devils here on Thursday. You really need this win on Thursday. You got to correct things here, because if you let this slide to Saturday, Canadians are smelling blood right now. They're feeling themselves. So try not to let it go there. And then if you were to lose the next two, again, let's not talk about this. Let's win on Thursday.
Let's win.
Get a big win on Thursday.
All positivity. We'll be back with a video for you all tomorrow. A lot of things to go over specifically. There's going to be some changes, I think, and we'll keep you up to date with that and trades, of course. Thank you guys for watching. Have a fantastic evening. And hopefully next time we're here on live stream, the Leafs will take care of business against the Devils and Sheldon Keefe. Take it easy.
Leafs Digest, your daily dose of gold. Stories of the bold where legends aren't told. From first puck drop to the season's full.